You're now entering the LuxCore Studios. And you've secured a seat for the Protecting Your Radius podcast. Here, we build connections from your contracting profession to some of the top bleeding edge products and services. Don't get deterred. Let's not delay. Here is your host, Nathan Downs.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Protecting Your Radius podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Downs, and on today's episode in the sanctum up here in Bixby, Oklahoma, the LuxCore Studios, we have Mr. Randy Ward, friend of the show. Randy, what's up, buddy?
Hey, man. Nothing but good stuff.
Good to see you as always. I see him all the time, actually, so this is not like a surprise visit or anything, but we have a very specific thing to talk about today to get the information out there and to promote for you as much as for the group that you're working for here soon. You are going to be an instructor at the sales training school at AFAU coming up here within a month. November 5th through 11th in Dallas,
sir.
Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the sales training school? What's this thing?
It's awesome. I mean, we teach lots of different sales techniques, how to close. I'm a big guy on closing, so we talk about closing a lot. But we teach a consulting sales course, not hard sales or anything, but it's a very broad overview. We've got Ben Jodane from Ultra Aluminum. Some of you guys know him. And Shane Yarborough from Bluff City Fence.
Nice.
They are the main instructors. I'm just a color commentary there to have fun and learn my own stuff. But we did this class earlier in Ohio this year. It was a big hit. And we're pretty excited about it again. We really need you guys to sign up for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll get some of the semantics out of the way first. Your guys' class is at the end of AFAU week, right?
Yes. Now, that is the week of AFA University. We have all the schools, Fence Installation School, Gate Operator Installation School, Contractor Business School, all the good ones, all the certifications that my friend Nathan already has. But at the end of the week, we're specifically have some sales training school, and it's a very popular school. It's great. Even if you're an experienced salesman, it's always good to sharpen that toolbox.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know a lot of the content there over the years has kind of been formulated, and a lot of that came from back when AFAU was up here in Tulsa.
Absolutely.
At Ameristar, because many of the consultative selling techniques that, everybody up there, the Bill Shankeys, the Barry Willinghams, the Mark Meeks and stuff, all those guys had taught that over the
100%,
years.
100%.
And really been behind that. So super cool. The 8th through the 11th of November is when your course is going to be offered. Mm-hmm. And for members of the American Fence Association, the cost to attend is $9.99. Now you have to get yourself there, right, Randy?
Yep.
But that covers room and board, everything.
Room and board, food.
Yeah.
Not your alcohol, but you're not going to be drinking alcohol anyway, right? You're going to be too busy studying.
Okay.
Right.
It's a sales school.
That's
I mean, we're not doing heavy equipment or anything like that.
True. It's a good time though. It's really a good time.
Absolutely.
And it's for everybody. If you've got a brand new guy that's never sold a tension band, it's great to have him deal. One of the things, like Nathan said, it has evolved a little bit. We used to have the video with the Ameristar guys that did a great job.
Right.
Who am I trying to say that was the main guy on there?
Oh my gosh. Was it, who was it?
He was a California guy. He was my salesman out there.
Was it Scott Glasgow?
Scott Glasgow.
Yes.
My man, Scott. I haven't seen him in 100 years, but he was a big guy on there.
And I've talked about this before. Scott Glasgow is the guy that taught me fence.
Really?
Yeah. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
So Scott, what's really funny is Scott Glasgow and Steve down at Binford.
Oh, yeah.
Grew up in the business together out there in California at Master Halco.
Really?
Yeah.
So I knew Scott when he was with Merchants, and he was with the previous company before Merchants. And actually how I got introduced to Ameristar is I came out here on a trip to see my son, and I called Scott, and he set me up at a tour. It was like a month before they introduced Montage. I mean, it was so cool. I got to go through the plant just before they kicked it off, and Man, they treated us like a somebody, and
Yeah.
it was really cool. And that was Scott did that. He's a good dude. Haven't
Good
seen him
guy.
in years. Is he retired?
No. So he's been running Olivera Fence for Debbie. If you
Okay.
remember Olivera Fence up there in the Bay Area.
Yeah,
right?
I do remember that.
So she got sick about the time that I left Ameristar, about a decade ago, and was really sick. And when Scott left, at some point in time, he was working for Fencing Specialties, Inc., which was the supply chain side of the old Golden State Fence,
Okay.
before
Yeah,
it
yeah.
became 90 different companies, because they were the largest company I've ever seen in the fence industry ever. But like when he was doing the supply side, he did that for a couple years, and then Debbie got sick, so he's been running Olivera Fence since.
Sounds
So,
like Scott.
man, back
Big
on the
guy.
contractor side.
Sorry.
Glasgow, if you see this, like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah,
Hang with
man.
that,
We miss you, buddy.
Go to Truckee, hang out at the cabin, enjoy Tahoe. I wonder if he still has his house here. Knowing Scott, I bet he does. I bet he still has his place. I think it was in Claremore or Skytook or something like that.
really?
Yeah. So, but anyways, I love Scott Glasgow. I owe that man a lot in the fence business, because me as a young, impressionable 20-year-old trying to become the best salesperson that I could be at Ameristar, I would get involved in chain link stuff. And I've mentioned this before. It was actually Scott and Susie Wells were the two that would answer all my questions about chain link.
Oh, yeah.
So when I got into contracting, I had a clue. I just didn't know how it actually went together and never did it. But I had an idea in my mind. So when Cliff Richardson, and I started working with him immediately, it took me a couple weeks and I started getting it. But it was funny. The first go round of like, I didn't understand the gates. I remember Ryan over at Jameson at the time. I would be sitting there like telling him I needed to order these double gates, and I didn't understand what an industrial drop rod was. So we bought all this stuff off of, and Ryan and I got in the biggest pissing match, like the biggest argument about this.
Can't believe that.
And he's like, and he finally is like, dude, you don't know chain link, shut your pie hole. And I was like, oh, frick. And I turned to Cliff, and Cliff goes, you don't know chain link. Like, don't tell him, like, don't act like you know what you're talking about. And I was like, and I'm like, man, so mad. And then I'm over there going, well, what? Hey, Cliff, what's he talking about? And he's like, see, he's like, you argued with him for 30 minutes on the phone. I was like, I know, I was so mad. And then he's like, you didn't know. And then, and then when I stopped working with Arrow and FenceTech and went over to Allied Fence, Matt Bilby like kind of give me the last things I needed to understand about commercial chain link. And then now, we do a crap ton of that stuff.
My favorite fence in the world
Man,
is chain
it's
link.
good. It's good. But of course, I always look for those ornamental jobs because it's like in my soul. It's in my bones from the beginning. So, but I've been thinking about this when you told me that you guys were doing the school and you had done the other one in Ohio. And I actually talked to Donnie about this because there were so many times where he and I get into arguments about who is a new salesman. Like if I'm going to hire a salesman, we've had podcasts about this. Like, oh, I want to hire a salesman. So what do? Do I take my old dog and, throw him out there and hope he can sell? And then you're like, oh my gosh, this guy is a great installer, but he is not a good salesperson. Or do you take someone like me that was a salesperson and didn't know anything about nothing and then train us? And it takes a long time to learn fence. It's very hard trade. We talk about that all the time. Dan Wheeler was the first one that I remember hearing openly say that on any forum a couple years ago when he started his podcast about how hard it was. And then when he listed all the things we do, I went, Randy, I had never thought that what we did was hard until I heard Wheeler explain that. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is not easy. Like I should give these guys a little bit of grace maybe sometimes, because I'm going, good Lord, you got to be a concrete finisher. You got to be a trim carpenter. You got to be a post hole digger. You got to do this. And then we do
equipment
gates
operator.
And then we do gates. So you got to be low voltage, high voltage. You start adding all these things up and you're like, ugh.
And you actually have to have a driver's license. That's a hard thing to get.
Well, in Oklahoma, I'm not sure how many of our guys have driver's license. I just didn't know about your guys.
Exactly.
Your guys have driver's license.
If they don't have one, they're probably a good fence guy.
And if you don't have teeth and you weld, you're a great welder.
Exactly.
or fake teeth or bridges or something like that. I'm like, yeah, you're a good welder. If you got all your teeth like me, probably don't weld as good as you should. But kind of rewinding there, thinking back to what I was thinking, talking to Donnie about this, is I think that's something that the sales training school can give to people in your organization that have a lot of field experience, that have all these other tangible things that really matter to what we do to sell it and to procure a job. But what are the holes that you guys are filling in your curriculum that I want to talk to the guys, maybe the owners out there that have people on their teams that they're in sales, they've done installs, they want to switch them. Why would something like this be of benefit to that specific individual?
For over 30 years, Southwest Automated Security has been the premier provider of gate operators, access controls, CCTV, and so much more. Visit southwestautomated.com today, taking dealers to the next level.
Sure. I think that's a great question, because I've talked to a lot of fence contractors over the years, and, I used to think, my God, how could you ever put somebody out there that's never built a fence to sell a fence? A lot of the advantages of a guy that hasn't built fences, he'll sell anything.
Right.
And what we do, if we've been an installer, we look at, oh my God, this is a miserable job, and we'll price ourselves right out of it, where another guy just says, hey, we're just going to build a fence. And 9 times out of 10, they work out fine. What's great about the school is it's been being tweaked. You can take this class and sell any widget. One of the reasons why they have me in it is because now I'm on the distribution side. Ben is actually, on the manufacturing side. And then, of course, Shane's a contractor.
Yep.
And of course, I've been a contractor also. So we got a pretty good deal. And we have tried to, after we had our last go, we talked a lot about different things. Like I said, you could leave this class and sell cars, right? Mm-hmm. You could leave this and sell pools. But we're trying to tweak it a little bit more towards fence. So we're going to talk about, why you would sell this particular wood fence over a chain link fence, over an ornamental iron fence, such and such. And a lot of our examples are going to be all fence related. We've kind of adjusted the curriculum to reflect that. Instead of talking about a car salesman, it's going to talk about a fence salesman.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of role play. It's a lot of class interaction. I mean, if you're shy, we're going to bring you out of that.
Yeah.
Because, we don't want a arrogant salesman, but we want a confident salesperson, One of the things that I remember Barry Willingham spoke very eloquently a lot, and I've taken a lot of personal sales training, and I've read a lot of sales books, but it is a service we provide. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the things that we express. Because we're all salesmen. We've been selling since we were born. If you're married, you sold somebody, right? They took a chance on you.
Outkick that coverage.
Exactly. They may have some regrets, but we sold them, right?
Absolutely.
So we can close a deal. And that's a lot of the things we talk about. We talk about sales tools, lead qualifiers to help, get a qualified salesperson or qualified customer,
Okay.
Make sure that we talk about using those tools. We talk a lot about closing because that's a pet peeve of mine. We go out there and we do all this work and we never ask for the job. Mm-hmm. So that's a big deal. We're going to talk a lot about that. It's nothing new, but it's very refreshing, and it's going to be an enjoyable class. And I guarantee you're going to leave there ready to rock and roll. And if you're an installer, you're a little bit backward, we're going to help bring you out of that. We're going to give you some tools to work with that. We're going to have some curriculum. And like I said, it's very interactive. People will have a good time.
Yeah. I love that. I think it's like you said, everyone is in sales. And the great thing is in the last 10 years, especially, I think a lot of that, where people have always been dismissive of salespeople and stuff, that's kind of culturally going away a little bit. But also, if you look, our sales skills across the board in any industry has massively increased.
Agreed.
Right? Like, it's not just, well, this is what I have, and are you going to sign? And, you know, it's again, that consultative selling, that asking questions, getting answers, finding out, solving problems. That's what I talk about all the time with the team. And I think I don't know, did you hear our conversation before we came in the studio up front about the financing thing?
Oh, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. So, like, that's an example of that, right? Like, you saw this in real world, you know, where we're going, hey, if there's a certain like level of estimate that we've done, I want every single one of these people to now get an email and a text specifically about, hey, I didn't know if you knew, but we offer financing. And your project's large enough to where this may be something that makes sense. And if I talk to someone, my sales side of me now is using that as like my own personal example. For sure, today, understanding the economy, I'm a fence guy, but there's a lot of other industries and people working in places that we don't know what's 2024. Like, we see what's on the horizon and we're all just a little cautious, right? And if I go to replace my fence at my home today, me personally, like, dead honest truth, I am not pulling money out of my savings. Like, my yard would be about $10,000 to do it. I'm not going to take 10,000 on my savings. You show me that finance offer and you're like, dude, it's only $120 a month. You know, if you paid it off here in 6 months, you know, you're really only going to pay a couple $100 in interest or something. So, like, it would just allow me to have more options what to do with my cash. And I've been telling people that, and they're like, you know what, Nathan, send me that info. And I'm like, yeah, because me personally, I would be in the same boat right now. I'm just sitting here thinking, do I want to pay? Does anyone want to pay for a fence? I mean, like, you know, like, it's
you
just
might have to buy toilet paper,
right? I mean, I hope it's not going to be like it was a couple of years ago.
That's what I'm talking about.
Lord. Yeah. Come on now. This is a positive show. But what other things, what other things with the sales training school, like, do you really want people to take away that come to this particular one? I think you guys refocusing on the fence side, I think, is brilliant, because I've seen some of the curriculum, right? We've gone through some of that. And I did feel that some of it was like, for someone like me that's done so many different types of trainings, I've spent tens of thousands of dollars across my life. Because I always have people, they're like, well, you're a naturally gifted talker, whatever. Like, if you knew how many stupid books I read and, you know, all this stuff. I mean, and even then I still sound like an idiot. Thank you, Dan Blanc. I'm sure somewhere he's like, hey, you still sound dumb.
Don't listen to those meatballs.
But like, what other, like, what's another nugget coming?
Who is Dan Blanc, by the way?
I'm not really sure.
There's another guy named Dan too out there.
Dude, so there's...
What do they do?
So this is funny. Hey, Flash, by the time this airs, good Lord knows where we'll be at in the... all of the different podcasts and stuff. But there's another Dan that has Dan and Zach have a podcast out right now. And then there's another Dan that announced today on Facebook that he's starting a podcast, I think, with some guys out of Florida. And I'm like, so this is a little PSA for everyone out there. If your name is Dan and you've ever looked at a fence, apparently you should start a podcast, because that's what everyone named Dan is doing. Next week, my name's going to be changed to Nadan. So then that way, literally, there's all Dans except for Joe Everest, which Joe is his own
He's the
entity.
Podfather.
Yeah, I mean, he is the podfather. So, like, he can be his own, but the rest of us will all be Dans. I'll be Nadan. And then we'll go from there. So
that's funny.
So rewind.
We love the Dans. We just like to give them a bad time.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So rewind on that thought. What's one more nugget that you would want people, specifically with this class coming up, to take away from what you're going to be teaching?
Well, they're just going to come out energized. They're going to be proud of the industry that they're in. That's the thing that I always come away from these schools, whether it was a gate operator school, the fence contractors business school. You're gonna come out of there with confidence and with pride in what you do.
Yeah.
And being proud of being a salesman.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. You're going to be, there is nothing wrong with sales. You're going to make more money in sales than you would anything in your life. And it is a service, where it's not like Nathan, like you were saying earlier, it doesn't have the stigma it once did. I mean, and I'm glad for that because, like I said, we're all salesmen. We just didn't recognize it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the cool thing is if you think about this, Randy, we've got American Fence Association University, AFAU, coming up here. There's one thing I've always, in Dan Wheeler over at Fence Industry Podcast talks about it all the time. So it's funny for me to just literally echo what he's saying, is the networking side of all these events.
That's what I'm glad you said that.
Man,
it's amazing.
And it doesn't matter whether you're going to AFAU, whether you come to FenceTech in January, you're going out to Vegas to FWA show, you go to NAFCA, which is like in a week, you go to Arlington to do that whole thing with that group. There's so many different groups, but specifically you think about the ones in the fence and gate industry trade. There's opportunities for us to connect with people that you would never get to interact with.
I agree.
And I think the one cool thing that I've seen, Randy, over the last couple of years is with the social media, is with all this podcasting stuff, that it's bringing us all together in a way that it hasn't been done before.
Oh, I love these podcasts that you guys do because as an outside sales rep, and I try and share this with other outside sales rep, if you want to have a pulse on what's going on in the industry right now, you got to listen to these podcasts, whether it's yours or Joe's or My Fence Life, the Fence Industry Podcast. They're all worth your time. You're going to learn things. It's just like the pounding post that's going on right now. Yeah. I mean, it's taken over our industry, and we used to go, who would do that? Well, what we found out in the North, they've done it forever.
I know.
Why ain't you guys doing it? We just didn't know. And I agree with you. The networking opportunity, you're going to make friends at this place. You're going to exchange numbers, and you guys are going to be friends for life.
Yeah.
And you're going to be talking to guys that have $10, $20 million fence companies, and guys are just doing $500,000 a year. And guess what? You both put your pants on the same way. You both dig holes for a living. I mean, it's just a great equalizer, and it's the one thing I've seen with my experience going to the AFA University is just, especially what I see at FIS. You got all these young guys coming down there. They don't, and even the older guys, they just think they know it all, right? I'm not going to learn nothing. They all come away learning something. They're all more humble, and every one of them come away with such a sense of pride. They can't wait to go home and show their bosses, thank you for making this investment in me, because let me show you what I can do. I learned this. I learned that. Because what's cool about our industry, and you hear it on these podcasts, and me, like coming from California, build fences different. We build privacy fences different.
Yep.
We use out there in California, the 065 is the lightest you use, 11 gauge, 90% of the time. You go to Arkansas, it's either 047 or Schedule 40, 11.5 gauge, 9 gauge. I don't know what 11 gauge is. I mean, it's just different. I'm not saying one's better than the other. It's just different.
Just different.
And so anyway, you get all that kind of stuff. In the gate operator school, we've been talking about sales training, but if you guys want to get into access control, there is not a better class. I mean, it's a week-long class, Fence Installation School, week-long class. And I'm going to tell you, you start breakfast at 7 o'clock. You have a safety meeting at 7:30. By 8 o'clock, you're in the classroom or you're out building fence. 5 o'clock, you finally get a break. 6 o'clock, you have dinner. After dinner, there's breakout classes if you want them. There's study. And then, of course, Saturday, if you want to get your certification on your gate operator, your certified fence contractor. And the other ones are, you're going to get a completion certification. They're not a certified deal, but you get a certificate.
Yeah.
But, we're running out of time. talk too long.
No, we're good.
But it's great stuff, guys. I mean, you just got to come. I cannot emphasize when I got my certified fence contractor. You're talking to a guy that the only time I went to college was either build a fence or watch a ball game, right. And it was probably the most gratifying thing. I mean, it probably did bring tears because I'm such a sissy, but it was amazing. It was an amazing thing to do, and it just put a cherry on top of my career.
I don't want to bring up a negative here, but I think it's positive. Did you pass the first round with me?
I passed the first. Matter of fact, let me tell you something. Todd Thomas, God rest his soul, told me privately, this is a nugget.
Oh, come on now.
I'm going to brag. I was the very first one.
I thought I was the first one.
Nope, you lied. They lied to you.
I turned in my test before you.
I know, but they graded mine first.
Oh, see, that's some bull.
That's it. So I was probably the last one.
I was the first one to turn my test in. Do you remember? We were in the room.
Oh, dude, I was probably the last one out, but they graded mine first.
Oh, well.
But I did pass all of them the first time.
I said the other day that I think there was 11 of us that passed.
I think so.
Was that right?
I think you're right.
Wow. So 2 of the 11 are sitting in this room. Must mean something. Probably doesn't mean jack, but like you said, it is kind of cool. Yeah, for a 3-time, I said this the other day, for a 3-time college dropout, that test was brutal, but good Lord, like you passed that. Like I see other people with that CFC badge, and I'm like, I see you. Like there's something guys, special. You know what I'm saying?
There really is. There's some guys out there that are great fencers, and they've passed 4 of the 5 or 4 of the 6, and they've still struggled to get those others. And they're smart guys, so it's tough. Yeah, but it's tough. It's very gratifying.
Yeah, I agree. So good, man. We're excited about AFAU. I think I'm not sure if I mentioned how much the sales training school costs, but I'll remind everyone again, and you can still sign up early bird until October 16th. So I think like the day this drops is going to be October 16th. You need to sign up today now. But it's $9.99 for AFA members and $17.99 for non-members. The good thing is if you're not a member, I think it's only $375 for your first year or something like that anyway. So you need to get in, you need to sign up. We need you to have part of the team, be part of the team and grow
Absolutely.
Together. Can
I bring one more thing up? So just real quick. There's scholarships out there.
Yes.
There are scholarships out there. Call your chapter president wherever you're at. Ask them about scholarships. I think you'll be, hopefully by the time you listen to this, you'll have been getting emails about it.
Yep.
But we are having some scholarships out there. So if it's, and you business owners that you just don't feel like you can afford to send a guy there, like I said, you just got to get them there. Mm-hmm. Once you pay the tuition, everything else, you don't have to feed them. They got a hotel room, and they'll get their curriculum. So check into the scholarships. It's worthy. Whether you go to sales training, gate operator installation, whatever, it's worth it.
Yep. And Randy saw when he walked in the office today in my lobby, he were looking at all the certifications and stuff hanging on the wall, and he saw my original completion certificate from when I went to gate operator technician training school.
Yeah.
Forever ago.
Yeah,
so
2012. It's real. That was pretty impressive.
I said 11 the other day, but whatever. It felt like it was 12 years ago, 11 years ago.
It was a long time ago, man.
It was a long time ago, and here we are talking about fence in the LuxCore Studios in Bixby, Oklahoma. So, Randy, appreciate you coming in. Hopefully, we see a lot of faces behind the camera and behind the headphones out there. Join you down there in Dallas. And
I hope so. Look forward to meeting them.
Absolutely, buddy.
Come up and say hi.
Yep. So, hey, appreciate you guys as always. We'll see you on the next episode. Peace.
You've been listening to the Protecting Your Radius podcast from the LuxCore Studios in Bixby, Oklahoma. Thanks for sticking around, and connect with us and all of our partners at www.protectingyourradius.com. We want to thank our premier partners. LuxCore, the newest line of premium quality composite infill to slide into your FenceTech fence system. Frame your style today. Also, StainTrack, the world's first patented standalone stain machine. Utilizing flood coat technology, StainTrack covers boards, pickets, posts, and any type of dimensional wood you can think of. And what better way to use your StainTrack machine than to use the easy application WoodDefender family of stains. WoodDefender goes on easy and covers in one coat with no backbrushing. And of course, the true power of our show is you, the listener. Please rate and review our show on whatever platform you consume this content. Your 5-star likes and reviews help other contractors get the message that we all want to be better and do better. And in the construction world, we can never forget that before you can be great, you've got to be good. Before you can be good, you've got to be bad. But before you can even be bad, you've got to try.
Bam. Oh, nope.
We didn't put a bow on it.
Oh, we didn't put a bow on this one. I don't care. Rob.